This is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joan Zacco.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright and I'm riding for Suzuki this year. This is Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to another Superbike Show. My name is Lester. This is Motorsport Radio. And in a truly awful week where we have lost prodigy frontman and big bike advocate and former bike team racing owner Keith Flint, we will be remembering him and any big memories that you have of him. If you've had some good experiences with him, maybe enjoyed some quality time with Mr. Keith Flint, if you were maybe part of his entourage or team, then you can get in touch with us tonight. It won't be entirely all about Keith Flint and the Prodigy, even though I have in the past, since Monday, become reacquainted with every single song I think they've ever made, and reminded just how good some of them really are, actually. So on tonight's programme, we will be talking about, amongst other things, your memories of Keith Flint and the BSB paddock team that he had, Team Traction Control, and yeah, you can get in touch with us regarding that. It's at M Sport Radio on Twitter, Motorsport Radio on Facebook, if you like, anytime this evening. And we have our panel of experts this evening. Please welcome Ed Hognall and Liam Hodgins. Hello, good evening, guys.
Good evening, Lester.
How are we?
Good evening, mate. Good. Yeah, can't complain. I feel lightheaded now, as you can see. Had a bit of a haircut, so I'm all happy.
Yeah, Liam's had his haircut and is now 3 foot shorter.
Streamline.
Excellent. How have you been, Ed?
Not too bad. I've survived this far in the week, so looking forward to the start of the racing this weekend.
Oh, yes. There's a small matter of MotoGP, which is happening this weekend, and Moto2, and wow, Moto3. We'll get onto that a bit later. Plus, all the big breaking news, and I'm not sure if it is big breaking news, but it's we'll remind you of it if you've forgotten about it anyway. So yes, some good news actually regarding, now you might remember little Riley Dexter, who had an atrocious accident at the end of last year, having been part of a demonstration at the Rally Wales. And yeah, he was in quite bad shape for quite a while. And well, there's been some good news out today. And well, we're not going to reveal the intricate details of good news, which we have been closely following and monitoring. But I will tell you that there is good news, guys. So yeah, little Riley Dexter seemingly on the mend. And yeah, we again, at Motorsport Radio and Motorsport Media, extend our best wishes to Riley and his father Jay and the entire family, and close friends as well. So good news if you're following the news on little Riley Dexter. So let's get on with tonight's show. And yeah, we as ever, by the way, just want to say, if you do disagree with anything that either myself, Ed or Liam says, you can get in touch with us, put us right, and let us know about it as well, especially yeah, so we do not mind the odd disagreement as well, so we don't want you to fully agree with everything. In fact, we want the opposite, because it kind of makes good programming. But there you go. Anyway, so let's get on with tonight's big news, by the way, and this is either something I've forgotten about or it is actually breaking news, but either way, I'm sure that many people didn't actually know this, and it's regarding MotoGP and a British wildcard. Liam?
Yeah, so I kind of forgot this myself for a wee while, and many people have as well, but Bradley Smith will be racing this weekend at Losail International Circuit. He won't be replacing any of the riders. He will be a third rider in the Aprilia team. As you might have known, he is now a MotoGP test rider for Aprilia. He's going to be doing that alongside his Moto E season, and this is going to be the first of 4 wildcards in 2019, so I cannot wait to see what he can do this weekend.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's I think, is it the first time Aprilia have had, or will have, 3 bikes racing at the same time?
It's certainly the first time I can remember in MotoGP. Certainly, they used to race it in the 125s and 250s. Lots of Aprilias out there in those classes. But in MotoGP, I can't think of a time that comes to mind.
I believe it will be the first time in the Premier class that they have more than 2 bikes on the grid in one race. So
very
certainly, definitely since they made their return in 2015.
They've definitely upped the ante. Aprilia are looking really serious now. The last few years, they've kind of gone about it just a little bit and not put in the effort that maybe some of the other manufacturers have. So now they've put in a lot of effort. They've recruited some more people. And you never know. Aprilia could be heading towards not the bottom of the top 10 anymore, but maybe fighting for the top 5 at some point this year.
Diving straight into the midfield, maybe. But yeah, good luck to Brad Smith, a returning British rider in MotoGP as a wildcard, one of only, 4 times this season, this weekend at Qatar. So, and there's other MotoGP news, Liam.
Yeah, there's plenty of MotoGP news because we've got the race this weekend, which is going to be absolutely brilliant. So, got a bit of Yamaha news. Valentino Rossi didn't do as well in testing as Fabio Quartararo and his teammate Maverick Vinales did, but the team don't seem fazed by it. Massimo Meregali came out saying that, you know what, just wait until Sunday. Rossi's going to be fast anyway. His one-lap pace isn't great, but his race pace is actually looking quite strong. So, he's given the team constructive feedback throughout testing, and they're just thinking they're going to continue doing that as the weekend progresses. If you watched MotoGP's live coverage today on social media before all the riders went out and got a picture taken, the bikes were out, and Rossi was out there like a wise old owl that he is, and casting a keen eye on the back of some of his rivals' bikes. So you never know. Yeah, you could totally see him getting dragged into a debrief room and to the engineers asking him what he saw out there, so you never know. Rossi might sneak a wee podium at the weekend after he might find out some intricate pieces on the back of his rivals' bikes. But Maverick Vinales on the other side of the garage is looking really good. He feels ready, up for the challenge, feels he can fight for the podium, but he's still saying that the Yamaha needs a bit of progress so that he can do it week in, week out. He's saying they're there, but they're not quite there. Him and Rossi are saying that the bike is now moving in the right direction, which is great to hear for all Yamaha fans, Rossi fans and Vinales fans around the world. Unsurprisingly, Jorge Lorenzo has come out and said that he believes that Marc Marquez will be a far tougher teammate than Valentino Rossi, saying that, this is quote, he hopes that Marquez will be an easier teammate than Rossi, but reality is quite different. So his speed, aggression and hunger, and the fact that he's only 26 will make him a far tougher teammate than Valentino Rossi was, because when Jorge Lorenzo was fighting against Rossi, it was from the age of when Rossi was 29 all the way up till he was 37. So it's going to be a lot more difficult from there. Is it a bit of gameplay from Lorenzo though? But if it is, I can't imagine that Marquez will be fazed by it whatsoever. Sticking with Jorge Lorenzo, he's saying that this year he's a lot happier at this moment on time this year on the Honda than he was at the start of 2018 on the Ducati. So expect him to be a weapon when when his wrist decides to get a 100% fully fit, and he's just going to be
weapon.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better term to describe him. So maybe Mataquilla, a bit like butter, or whatever the hammer version is in Spanish, what he used to call himself. But yeah, weapon. Try and find that Spanish, because I think he will be that at some point this year. Could look at Mugello again. People think he thinks it'll be a few months until his wrist is fully better. So when Mugello rocks round again, you never know. We could see him run away with it like classic old Lorenzo. Alex Rins is super happy with Suzuki right now. He's over the moon and saying that Suzuki have done everything that he's asked them to do to fix the bike for 2019. It wasn't a bad bike in 2018, anything but they've just improved on everything. The only thing that they've kind of lost is the one-lap pace. The race pace is fantastic, but the one-lap pace, they've kind of lost a little bit. So the word that they might qualify quite far down, it might be quite tough for them to build that back up in the race. Cal Crutchlow's venting his frustrations a little bit, saying that he's got a lack of front end feel from the 2019 Honda and he doesn't know where it's gone, so he's perplexed by it, and he's kind of tested out 2018 chassis over the last couple of tests, especially at Losail. Maybe he might switch back to the 2018 chassis with the 2019 Honda engine in it, but he's going to try and continue pushing on with the 2019 bike because he doesn't feel like he's spent a lot of time on that bike, because at the previous test at Sepang, he only had the 2018 chassis, not the 2019 one, so he might just need a bit more time on that. And for everyone that's a fan of Assen, good news for you. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about Formula 1 here, but Assen tried to put in for the Dutch GP, the Formula 1 race, and they've now been told they're not going to have it. So MotoGP riders are going to be super happy about that, because that means the track will not be ruined in any shape or form with the likes of the downforce of the Formula 1 cars pushing up the tarmac a little bit and making it really bumpy. So we all know they're pretty happy about that. Sticking with some circuit announcements, Losail and Dorna, the MotoGP bosses, have announced that Qatar will be staying on the calendar until 2031. I can't believe it.
Great.
Yeah. So we've got at least another 12 more years of this circuit being on the calendar, and probably round one.
Is it just me? Well, no, it's not. I know it's not.
No, we talked about this last week on the show, that we would love to see Losail off the calendar.
It's, I mean, it's a good racetrack. It's just
boring.
I think it's due to the lack of spectators that you can get there. They have one grandstand down the main straight, which I think can hold 15,000 people, which is not a lot when you consider it's over a kilometre long, that straight.
There's more atmosphere in my shoes.
I'll take your word for it on that one, Lester. But yeah, there's also just one tiny grandstand around between turn 6 and turn 7, I believe, which can host a few hundred. That is it. It's the smallest in terms of capacity. It's a good racetrack. It does occasionally produce good races, but you'd want more people there for the curtain raiser. At least it's not the season finale, I guess.
Yeah, it would be worse. Well, Superbikes have unfortunately got that one.
Yes.
Losail, I wouldn't say it's a good racetrack. It does produce good racing. But in terms of racetrack, maybe if it was located somewhere else, I would say it was a good racetrack. Maybe it's because it's a lack of atmosphere. It's stuck in the middle of the desert. I remember Toby Moody once claimed that PlayStation in the desert. That's basically what it is. So I would definitely be happy to see off the calendar at some point.
Yeah, though, generally speaking, those kind of types of circuits that have sprung up over the past 10, 15 years or so, in the middle of nowhere circuits, They get criticism, I think, in not just in MotoGP, but in Formula 1 as well, for being characterless, soulless, having no history. Yeah, they're right.
Yeah, I also think it comes... I don't want to get too political when I say this, but I think it comes down to sort of the political right movements and everything over in those countries as well. And money.
Yeah,
so,
mostly money.
That's why people don't tend to be too happy with it. But as long as we get a good race, then we'll probably just forget that it's on the calendar, and then we'll move on to round 2, which is always good because that means we move away from Losail and that's done for another year. So that's the only reason I look forward to it, getting over and done with and moving on.
Fair enough. Okay, and talking about moving on, I was hearing that Channel 5 regarding the some of the highlights, Liam, might be... Now, what's the deal with this? Because has there been an official announcement? Because regarding some of the highlights for MotoGP, Channel 5 had the highlights and then they kind of lost the highlights, and then we were all worried that there would be no highlights. But apparently the TV Times has said that the highlights are going to be on Channel 5.
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of snooping around for it, and TV Times, Radio Times have said that it's going to be shown on BT Sport, and then later on in the day it'll be shown on Channel 5. So I looked through all of the rounds, and Channel 5 was mentioned for every single round. So it looks like it's on. We lost it last year. It's back for this year, fingers crossed. But some people within the paddock are just saying that there's nothing being confirmed yet. It could be over the next few days.
Where else is it going to be, to be honest? I mean...
Don't know. So... It'd be great because obviously lots of people don't have the money to pay for BT Sport, so that means they get to watch it for free a little bit later on. It'll be a little bit delayed, but that's okay. At least you get to see the race anyway.
It's better than nothing.
Absolutely,
it is.
So
yeah. So,
but
just while we were talking about the TV times or the whatever it's called, what are the Moto GP? When's it on? When can we actually watch it live?
So basically, the Moto 3, the coverage for it is going to be starting at 11:30 a.m. For the warm-ups. If you're sad like me and you love watching the warm-ups or all the practice sessions, then
sad about that?
Yeah, some people don't like it. They're just there for the races, but I like watching all the practice sessions. But the coverage for the Moto 3 on BT Sport will start at 1:15. The race will start at 2 o'clock. And the Moto 2 race will start at 3:20 p.m. So write that one in your diaries as well. And of course, the MotoGP race will start at 5 o'clock on Sunday. But don't write that down as permanent just yet, because the riders are still trying to push for the races moved forward 1 hour. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow night, the Riders Association, and they're going to try and discuss it then. I know Jorge Lorenzo really wants it moved forward 1 hour. The only problem is that the Moto 2 race will be running dusk like it was last year, which means they're going from the daytime to the nighttime, and it's bad for the riders' eyes and with glare and stuff like that. So yeah, we don't know what's going to happen just yet with that. So it's all up in the air at the moment. Anything can happen. So fingers crossed. I would like it to get moved forward an hour, because we just don't want there being moisture on the track, because that does cause crashes, and that's what we're all worried about.
Okay. Any other bits of MotoGP news?
Yeah, just a wee fast fact that I found out today, and I thought this was quite interesting for myself, and maybe you do as well, is that Valentino Rossi will be the first rider to start a Grand Prix race at 40 plus since, you might remember this name if you remember the 250s, Taro Sekiguchi, back in 2016 when he done a one-off wildcard race at Motegi in the Moto 2 class, and the first rider to start a Premier Class race since Shinichi Ito rode a Repsol Honda at Motegi in 2011 and finished 13th.
Well, of course, we all know that, of course. But yeah, thanks for reminding us of that fact. What was that guy's name again?
Which one? Taro Sekiguchi? Yeah. Taro Sekiguchi. So
have you been practicing saying
that? All day. It's taken me 150 attempts.
Okay. Who was I think it was it Jeremy McWilliams? I think I had a wild card in like 2013 or 2012 or something.
I think it was 2015 on a tailor-made, I think that was the name of it, tailor-made Moto 2 at Silverstone. And he was just about to turn 50. I think he got to do it because he was still 49. And a few weeks later, he was going to turn 50, so that's why he was still allowed to do it, because anyone over the age of 50 is apparently not allowed to ride in MotoGP, which is a bit of a shame.
What if you identify as a 51-year-old?
You're not allowed to ride.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sorry.
What about if a 51-year-old identifies as a 45-year-old?
Then you're fine.
Okay.
Just just change your birth certificate and you'll be golden.
But we won't get too much into who does what. Thank you for the MotoGP updates. A big hello to some of the people already tuned in nice and early. Hello to Chris Howells, to Josh Warner as well, and Gary tuned in, listening live, because we are live right now as well. Some of the comments that come flooding in. Nat Jarvis also tuned in. Hello, good evening. And Ryan Lilly hello, as well. Hello, guys. Nat said it would be brilliant if Bradley, going back to what Bradley Smith earlier, said Bradley best Iannone, or beat Iannone, that would spark the rumour again about Iannone potentially being replaced, what with his dodgy nose and all.
I don't think anyone can get close to Iannone with the smell of his fragrance that he's promoting at Losail this weekend. I'm only kidding on.
Why would you want to smell like a rider's jockstrap?
For 520 quid. So I don't know. I mean, it's go faster jockstrap fragrance. I'm sure it's absolutely amazing fragrance, and the brand is fantastic. Go and buy it today. I'd like to have a smell first. Well, yeah. I don't know. I said at least, well, judging by some of the pictures. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, Iannone for men and women, apparently. I don't know. I feel like there's a rich pot of memes available for Iannone bringing out a fragrance. Well, Iannone's a meme in himself, but that's why we love him, because he's just a character.
Yes.
MotoGP wouldn't be the same without him.
Any meme creators out there, just take one look at his Instagram account and you're sorted for life.
Yeah.
Look, I think, to be fair to Iannone, though, even if Bradley Smith was to get a better result in this weekend, I don't think after one round you'd seriously be starting Smith to replace the Iannone rumours.
Well, it is an interesting one, though, just because of what happened in testing and him missing one of the test.
Yes, that was very weird. I will give you that, and weird, I think, is the word for it. But Iannone, he's still a very fast motorcycle rider. He has won a Grand Prix before, and he has actually he's got stronger over the winter with the Aprilia as well. So he's certainly, whilst it started off a bit odd, give you that, he certainly seemed to have accustomed to life inside that team just at the right time as the season's about to start. So, yeah, I think whatever happens this weekend, unless he storms out the garage and, has a go at everyone in the team, I don't think you could seriously start a rumour like that just based on this weekend.
I think we might, though. Just saying. A big hello to Alex Raby, who is tuned in, listening live. Alex Raby, for those who don't know, and were tuned into the World Superbikes World Feed commentary, as opposed to the Eurosport commentary, they would have heard Alex Raby, and they will hear him for, I think, all of the rest of the season, or at least most of it anyway. And Alex Raby, former commentator for the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship here on Motorsport Radio as well. So, yes, another graduate, I suppose. Hello, good evening, Alex. He's probably like thinking, oh, God, why did he talk about me? Okay, but anyway, keep your comments coming in. It's at M Sport Radio on Twitter, where we are streaming live this show. We also stream on Twitch as well. I'm getting good at remembering, but I think I lose words every time I remember something else. Twitch, and also on our website, motorsport.radio, and where else as well? I think on the YouTubes as well, I believe. We are taking your comments about MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3, and your predictions as well, and also remembering Mr. Keith Flint, who was announced as passing away earlier this week. It's the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joan Zacco.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Ray, and I'm riding for Suzuki this year. This is Motorsport Radio.
Loads and loads of comments all week, and amazing tributes to the prodigy singer, performer, entertainer, pioneer of music in British music, and also team boss, former team boss as well, and the team competed at the Isle of Man TT at least a couple of times. Keith Flint of the prodigy. Amazing figure, and we are all, I think the world is a lot sadder without him, and he leaves behind a massive musical legacy of just pure, unadulterated goodness, I would say, depending on your taste of music. But either way, he was an iconic figure, and even though he never did anything in BSB, he still is one of the most talked about, one of the most memorable and recognised and most loved figures in the BSB paddock of recent years. And there's been a flood, which we will, throughout the show, read out, and also take your comments if you have any experience of being with Keith. Just everybody who has commented so far has just said what an amazingly nice man he was, and not a single word, and we've checked all over, not a single person has anything bad to say about him, considering he is the original fire starter. So so all throughout tonight on the show, we're paying respect to Keith Flint, and just remembering just how brilliant some of the songs actually were, or are, really. Having been reacquainted this week, guys, with some of the Prodigy's back catalogue and actually new singles as well. They're still releasing stuff, and they're on a world tour, or they were, anyway. Apparently, according to Ryan Lilly, Keith raced in the same championship as his dad, as Ryan Lilly's dad, a couple of years ago. What a guy. He will be missed, definitely. So and as I say, we'll be reading out a few. I don't want to go too like morbid and depressed, because he was a very upbeat, pretty good guy, but it reminds us all, I think, a punch in the gut, really, at certain times like this, that it is okay to not feel okay, and we never talk about it. But if you do want to talk about it, you might just want to talk to Samaritans, perhaps a total stranger, who knows. But yeah, just it's always a reminder, and I'm not going to go over like social media, just using it as a opportunity to virtue signal and hashtag, it's okay to not be okay, but it kind of is true. Keith Flint, who died this week, terrible shame. And moving on with the show, it's an awkward moving on with, but hey ho, we have got other stuff to talk about on the show. Staying with MotoGP in the paddock anyway, and it's over to Moto2 news, or what there is of it anyway. It's Ed.
Yes, it's surprisingly, really, the first weekend of the year coming up, and it's actually been a quiet week for news. What little there has been, well, I suppose last weekend was the final pre-season test for the Moto2 class, the final time for the riders before the racing begins in earnest, for them to get to grips with the new Triumph engines in their bikes. And as has been the trend throughout the whole of the winter, Sam Lowes has ended up the pre-season, used to call him the winner of the Winter Grand Prix, as it were. He's topped all the pre-season tests leading into the season, run closely, I should say, by returning to the intermediate class Tom Lucy, having come back from his season in MotoGP last year, and Australian Remy Gardner, who's been keeping both very honest. Those three have been at the top pretty much all throughout winter testing, and rightly are taking the tact of pre-season favourites, or certainly for this weekend heading into Qatar. Jake Dixon, the other British rider who's preparing to make his debut in the class this weekend, he said he's felt at the last test he hit a bit of a brick wall with his lap times on the final day. The bike feels good. He rides for the Team Angel Nieto team down there. The bike feels very good, particularly over long runs. It's the one lap pace which seems to be letting him down. He's still struggling to get within about 6 or 7 tenths of the top 10 placings, but considering he's never raced properly in the Moto2 class before, that's still pretty good winter he's had underneath him, and it will get better as time goes on. The team, they'll be working round the clock to make sure he has every possible chance for getting the best results each weekend. The Angel Nieto team, they're a hard-working team. Now, there's almost a third of the field will be making their Moto2 debuts this weekend. In fact, 9 riders in total are rookies in the class, 6 of which are straight up from Moto3, the graduates, as they're often known as, including the reigning Moto3 champion Jorge Martin and his main championship rivals Fabio Di Gianantonio and Marco Bezzecchi are up there, alongside Philip Ertl, Enea Bastianini and Nicola Bulega from the Valentino Rossi 46 Academy. They're going to be joined, as we mentioned, by Jake Dixon and 2 riders from the Asia Talent Cup have moved across to ride for the Idemitsu squad, Eki Pratama and I'll try and read my handwriting there, Somkiat Chantra.
I'll let you off with that. Yeah, because it's what's his name again?
Which one? Eki Pratama is the first rider, and the second is Somkiat Chantra.
Just checking.
Who they have come over from the Asia Talent Cup and will be riding for the Idemitsu squad for this year. Qatar will also be the debut weekend for the newly formed MV Agusta team. They're returning to the Grand Prix life, but obviously their first ever weekend in the intermediate class in the Moto2 era. They have Dominic Agata, who is piloting their bike this year, and testing's been going, they'd say, solidly, if a bit unspectacularly. They've had a lot of technical gremlins in the bike chassis and in various suspension parts and brakes. Teething problems, as you might expect, would go wrong over the winter. As a result, nobody is really quite sure exactly where they are in the pecking order. So who knows where they're going to be? They could easily be quite high. The chances they've got they're very experienced rider, very experienced people in the team. The beauty about winter testing, or the frustration, depending on your point, we just won't know until lights go out on Sunday, which, a reminder, the Moto2 race will be at 3:20 p.m. on Sunday, although that is liable to change. But as things stand, as it is now, that will be the time for the Moto2 race. And I believe there is just one more thing that this weekend that we have. At the Qatar Grand Prix this weekend, it's the first time we will see the Q1, Q2 format, which has been in MotoGP now since 2013. It's finally been moved across to Moto2 and for Moto3 this year. So the practice and qualifying schedules are now all aligned. So there'll be 3 free practice sessions for the classes on combined practice times. The fastest top 10 will automatically go through to Q2 to fight for pole position, and the rest will be sent through qualifying 1 for 2 spots to go up into Q2. And basically it's to prevent, it's an effort by Race Direction really to try and reduce the amount of towing, blocking, randomly slowing down on the racing line that we've seen in the junior classes over the last number of years. It's basically to keep the action moving and really riders not ruining each other's qualifying sessions. They actually have to get on and race rather than play a bit of mind games with each other. So perhaps a good move.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of controversy about that in the past couple of years, hasn't there?
Yes, I mean, because of the size of the bikes, it hasn't been too much of an issue with Moto2. Yes, it does happen. It's been more towards the Moto3 class, but they brought it in across the 2 classes this time. It brings everything nicely into alignment with the Premier class as well. So it's some people say, well, it's now less of a challenge for riders who are going to one day move up to the Premier class, but I suppose Dorna and Race Direction just see it as a neater way. This is our brand. Oh, look, this is how the series runs. So, but ultimately, I think Q1, Q2 format for the intermediate and the junior classes is going to be a very good thing. That is all the Moto2 news.
Yeah, a bit quiet, really. I suppose a lot of people just keeping their heads down and getting ready for the storm of news and racing that's about to unfold this weekend. A couple of comments coming in from various people tuned in online. Hello, Michael Howarth, tuned in, listening live. Hello. And you might want to go and check out, just by the way, just nothing to do with Moto2. Michael Howarth's, if I think it might be a public video that he made of him testing a Greg's vegan sausage roll. It's interesting.
I've still wanted to try that, see what it's like.
You might want to consult Michael Howarth
Michael,
on it.
get in touch.
Yeah, check his video out for a full, in-depth, professional review on that. Unfortunately, we don't have time to bring it to you here on the show tonight. A big hello to, as well, BSB Radio's very own Kerry Cobb as well. So if you have been in the paddock or mooching down the back of the pits, you may have seen Kerry running to and from the commentary box up to the media room and give her a wave and say hello to her. Yeah, and hello, good evening, Kerry, as well. A few other people commenting as well. Hello to Charles, who says, regarding Aprilia, by the way, that being involved with Aprilia for over 20 years and knowing some of their underhanded ways that they deal with situations over the years, Charles says, I would pretty much guarantee that they have decided they want to get rid of Iannone before he becomes a problem, and they're going to use Bradley to force Iannone out. Now, that's what Charles says. It goes pretty much along the same lines as what we already have been conspiring or floating the conspiracy about. So until they come out and either say for definite, no, these are our 2 for definite riders, you know, it will look kind of like, yeah, he's kind of like being, yeah. Well, you get the feeling that if he just slips up once more, like his nose falls off or something, then he's out, basically. I get the idea. Liam?
You've got to remember what Aprilia, the way they treated Scott Redding and Sam Lowes when they were there, they sort of didn't give them the parts, or the Alicia Spargo got, so they could sort of phase them out as the year went on, and it just got worse and worse and worse. I don't think Aprilia will do that to Iannone. I think Iannone will kick up a bit of a fuss if they do that, but yeah, I kind of see that Aprilia can have that in their arsenal to do something like that. If they've done it a few times, they can do it again.
Yeah, there's been many comments by previous riders in the past, and not entirely sure how much of that is sour grapes from former riders. I know Scott Redding wasn't best pleased with Iannone, at least anyway. Anyway. Moving on anyway to some Moto 3 news, and there does seem to be even less Moto 3 news than there was Moto 2. Isn't that right, Liam?
Absolutely. I mean, if Ed was scraping the bottom of the barrel, I think I was actually kicking at the bottom of it to try and find something. So, as you might have known, that the testing wrapped up at Losail earlier on the week, last Sunday actually, and it was Moto 3 returnee coming into his 7th season in the class, 7th season already, Romano Fenati, and he led a sniper team 1-2 coming out of testing ahead of his teammate Tony Arbolino. So
sniper as in he's going to take someone out.
Yeah, he might do. Just don't get too near him, especially if you're riding past him with your brake lever on the left hand side of him. I'm kidding. I don't think you'll ever do anything like that again. We've seen those days of Romano Fenati behind us. Maybe.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
I'll come on to it in a second, but more Moto 3 news is the Gresini rider, Gabriel Rodrigo, ended up breaking his collarbone on Saturday, got surgery on it, and he is planning on, well, this is what he's saying on social media, he's planning on riding this weekend, trying to race. So there's not been much said in the last few days about it, but when he said it right after the operation, he says he's going to go for it, and he looked all happy, thumbs up on his Instagram and everything, so we believe he's going to try and do it. And if anyone can do it, it's Gabriel Rodrigo. That boy is crazy. So I can't wait to see what he can do this weekend. But as Ed said earlier on, is that the Moto 3 format for qualifying is going to be changing to a Q1, Q2 style format, a bit like Moto GP. We're also going to run at Moto 2. And as he was saying, it's just because there was far too much blocking and riders slowing down on the racing line, especially late on into qualifying, which got far too dangerous over the last few years. And if anyone tries to do anything like that again, they're going to have to find themselves in front of a former world champion and the last ever person to win 2 titles in the same season, Freddie Spencer. So he is now going to be part of the FIM MotoGP stewards. So I was going to mention it earlier on, forgot about it, so just brought it back up there. So he's going to be part of that.
Is he a permanent steward?
He's a permanent steward.
Okay.
So you definitely know he's not going to take any nonsense from the kids in Moto 3 or anyone for that matter. So if Romano Fenati doesn't sort himself out, he's definitely going to find himself in front of Freddie Spencer on a few occasions.
Was just going to say, I wonder what his views are on Mr. Fenati and how much jip he'll be putting up with from him.
Yeah, absolutely. But come back to Romano Fenati. He's got to prove himself this year. This, in my opinion, this is it. 7th season in class. He's come back down from Moto 2 to Moto 3. He's got to win it.
I think he's just got to keep his head down and do nothing, as though just don't cause any waves or anything. Just have a season where you don't try and kill anyone. That should be the aim.
He hit rock bottom so hard that, I think it just bounced back up again, so he'll be all right.
Yes. Indeed. There's been a couple of comments regarding Mr. Fenati. I'm trying to filter. If you see me looking over here, by the way, for the visual radio listeners, you should know that I'm sort of filtering some of the comments in my head instead of blurting out swears about Fenati, etc. But Gary has been on once again. He says, still don't know why Fenati's employed at all after what he did. And that would be, I suppose, one of the prevailing thoughts, I suppose. I think it's because when he's not getting himself into trouble, he is one of the best or quickest riders out there, and he can get the job done. He's always, you can't count him out. He's a title contender every single year, any bike, any situation. So I think that's why teams still employ him. And it was the Snipers team was a team he was in Moto 2 with last year, so they've kind of forgiven him and taken him back. Well, we don't know that they've definitely forgiven him versus whether it was an opportunity to get some money, presuming that he had any. It does seem to. Yeah, we've been over this before, and I don't want to go like raking it all up over again, but. I won't actually. I just won't continue that train of thought because we'll get into a big thing about it, and then it'll become a full social media thing, and then yada yada yada, and then before you know it, Fanati's blocked me. I suppose that's the least worst thing you could do to me. Anyway, Anyway, so thank you for that. Anyway, a bit of Moto3 news. If you know anything that we've not mentioned, or there's been some news break during the show, which sometimes does happen, and we're too busy. Talking to you about news and stuff that we've missed it or whatever, then let us know. Get in touch at M Sports Radio on Twitter. It's Motorsport Radio on the Facebooks, and you can just leave a comment in the comments box wherever you're tuned in to us, whether that is on a Facebook group or our website motorsport.radio, where, by the way, you can go back and listen. Liam, you can go back and listen to every single show we do on Spotify as well, so stream that. Yay! I hear no one saying. But yes, Spotify and Twitch as well. Don't forget Twitch. Superbike show, and loads of comments coming in all week, I suppose, regarding Mr. Keith Flint, who, passed away. Let's say, start of the week. Terrible news.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Joan Zacco.
Hello, I'm Josh Elliott.
Hi, I'm Ben Curry.
The Superbike show on Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright, and I'm riding for Suzuki this year. This is Motorsport Radio.
Team Traction Control was the team that he managed. And, not many people would actually know, Ed, that the team actually did enter the TT. Was it a couple of times?
They've been part of it several times. Team Traction Control before, obviously, they merged with the McAm's Yamaha team a couple of years back. They were actually a regular at the TT. Ian Hutchinson in 2016, winning both the Supersport races for the team. And in doing so, I believe he set a new Supersport lap record in the process. So they had a good pedigree, they were well led, and they were just a very well liked team, led of course by Keith Flint, who was the heart and soul of that team, driving them on, and also the first to celebrate all the success. He was first one up on the podium to help spray the champagne.
Yeah, definitely. Loads of comments. Also from the bike racing world as well. And John McGuinness has earlier in the week mentioned that he had the privilege to spend some quality time with this character, says John. And John is a character himself. To millions, he was a music icon. To me, John says, he was just a friend and a bike fan that gave riders a chance with his own team with no ego attached. That is a very special thing. R.I.P. mate, says John McGuinness. And also, we're just selecting a couple of the comments that have been mentioned about Keith Flint. Also, James Whittam. This comment, I think, coming in on the day of the terrible news. He says on Twitter, saddened to hear about Keith Flint leaving us. To most, he was an unapproachable music icon, but for a small group of people who knew him well through his passion for motorcycles and motorcycle racing, he was the most genuine and friendly bloke you could ever meet. Godspeed, Keith, says James Whittam. And there's not much else that we can add. Just absolutely nobody has a single bad word to say about the music pioneer, former prodigy singer, performer, icon, and bike team owner. Keith Flint passed away earlier this week, and it's okay to not feel okay. No shame in admitting that you're not okay. So, I don't want to... happens to us all, I suppose. You know, it's just one of those things. Hopefully that Yeah, hopefully that if you are going through some stuff at the moment, just talk to someone, talk to anyone, talk to the Samaritans, and so Keith Flint. Yeah. I'm lost for words, I would say. So with that, it's a good opportunity, as I think, to move on and talk about some road racing, considering that we have just been talking about that. And on last week's show, we gave the news that Oliver's Mount might be getting saved by a TV, music and radio personality. But since then, there's been some more news, Ed. Tell us more.
Yes, we'll start with that one. Oliver's Mount Racing at the Scarborough Circuit. It is back for 2019. Yes, repeat, it is back. It is definitely on. 2 events have been confirmed for this year. The first is the Barry Sheen Classic, which is happening on July the 27th to the 28th. And then in late September, the last weekend in September, in fact, the Gold Cup returns September the 27th to the 29th. Those 2 events are being run by new organisation, the 243 Road Racing Association, which is being co-organised by Eddie Roberts and Isle of Man TT legend Mick Grant, who played a huge hand in bringing the racing back to the Scarborough Circuit. They've taken over from the previous organisers, Auto 66, and the events have the full backing, first, as you'd expect, from the Scarborough Borough Council, but crucially from the Auto Cycling Union, who administer all the racing licences.
Why do I recognise those names?
Well, Mick Grant he's a 7-time Isle of Man TT winner way back out there, and since retiring from his days, he has kept very much in touch with the grassroots of road racing and club scenes, and yes, he's been always a major fan of the Scarborough road races, and he's, like so many people, he was so sad when the events had been cancelled. He did not want to see it go, so he's pitched in with Eddie Roberts and also the Marshals Association as well. And together they've combined to form this new organisation, and with the backing of the council and Auto 66, we are going racing again at Oliver's Mount. It's terrific, because Scarborough, if you're new to road racing and if you're not sure, Oliver's Mount is very significant because in mainland UK, for the benefit that we'll call it England, Wales and Scotland as the mainland of the United Kingdom, it is the only licensed and sanctioned road racing circuit this side of the Isle of Man and Northern Ireland. So it's huge for road racing in this country.
Yeah, it was almost incomprehensible to think that we could lose, as you say, the only mainland road racing circuit, I suppose. But that looks like it's not going to be the case, and I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong once in a while, but weren't the new owners involved in the saving of or rescue of Mallory Park a couple of years ago? If anyone's listening and they know, tell me I'm wrong or right.
That certainly sounds familiar. I'm going to have to go and dive in and check that. But
someone Google it. To Google, quick. Yes, I'm happy to be wrong on that. I genuinely don't know, but I believe if I'm right, then woo, yes. Great news for Oliver's Mount. Just remind us again the 2 events that they've got this year and when they are.
Okay, so the first event that's going to be held this year is the Barry Sheen Classic. Now that's happening on July the 27th to the 28th, so the last weekend in July. And then at the end of September, the Gold Cup, the big one, is back, September the 27th to the 29th. So everybody, you know what to do. Get over booking those B&Bs in Scarborough and get over there to see some top-class racing. Exactly.
Right, Paul James Fyson has been on, and he has a bone to pick with you, Ed. He says you're wrong. What about Aberdare Park in South Wales?
No, was this the one that was supposed to be licensed last year for a kind of a mainland UK version of the TT? Am I right? The one that's supposed to be built in, or was planned to be?
Because I remember John McGuinness
in a military base.
Yeah, he was due
yes,
to.
they never got an ACU approved license for it, so the event had to be canned. It was they mapped out the circuit, the event promoters. They'd got John McGuinness and a few others on board. It was going to run, but the ACU, they said spectator safety, they weren't entirely happy with, and then they didn't quite disclose all the other reasons in the official press release. But the bottom line is they refused to rubber stamp the events and grant them the license, and so the racing never went ahead.
Okay. Paul James Fyson, sorry if I've been pronouncing your name wrong, Paul, sorry. He says, actually, it's a Welsh road race since 1947. So Ed's like, to Google, I don't believe you. I'm going to verify this.
No, fair enough. If it is, I'll sit corrected.
I will bow to anybody's better knowledge on road racing because I don't have. I'm I suppose a casual fan of road racing, and there's nothing wrong with that. What have you found, Ed? Oh, you're still Googling, sorry.
I found Google has predictably crashed, but I'm happy to sit corrected on this one. I must admit, I hadn't heard of it, as it's not one of the major international races or the big ones in Ireland, Wales.
So there you go. Paul James Fyson, our brand new road racing correspondent, everybody.
I resign.
And Lee Willars has been on. Right, okay, Lee. He actually says that, yes, Eddie Roberts was part of the Mallory Park rescue a few years ago. Ha! I was right.
He stole my thunder. I just went down Google there.
And I pulled that from my brain somehow. I don't even... It was probably on an article that I read yesterday about the thing. But yeah, thanks, Lee, anyway, for sticking up for me.
Did you know this one as well? Is that Stuart Hicken was also part of the rescue as well, so the British Superbike team owner.
Yeah, isn't he based in, locally anyway? So he was part of the rescue, so, yeah. But it was just... It was just those other names that I'm like, I kind of know them, but not from where probably you know them from, Ed. But yeah, I'm glad I was right anyway. Jesus, wow. My brain still works, just about. So yeah, keep your comments coming in, by the way. And we genuinely don't mind you correcting us. That's, we're all learning and stuff. Going back to what I mentioned previously regarding Team Traction Control, they won 4 TTs, according to Michael Howarth. So I believe that's what he was referencing when he said they won 4 TTs. On our watch party that we've got right now on the BSB and support Facebook group right now, on Facebook. I still think that should change the name of that. It sounds seedy, a watch party. Anyway, whatever. Hello to Stuart Gibbs, who's also part of the party. Scott Cooper as well. And Tony Morris is joined and probably quickly turned off as well. And Luke Hedger, Gerard Backhouse as well. And yeah, loads of other people all tuned in to the Superbike show here on Motorsport Radio. What else have we got? Was that all the road racing stuff?
Oh, no. No. There is a ton of stuff
cool.
to come through. First of all, to the Cookstown 100, which is the first of the big road racing meetings this year, happening on April the 26th, 27th. The organisers, the Cookstown and District Motorcycle Club, they've put a call out appealing to competitors for the ultra lightweight class, which incorporates Moto3, the old 125cc Grand Prix bikes, and the new Supersport 300 machines. They want to run this class there. They are struggling for competitors. So anyone out there who has a racing license, has a Moto3 or 125 or a Supersport 300 machine, please go and enter it, is basically their plea, because they want to see it. It's usually the most junior of the classes, usually the younger racers out there. But they want to get as many people on the grid as possible for it. The entry deadline is March the 19th out there.
And how do you enter? Where do you go? What do you do?
You simply go to the Cookstown 100 website and you can apply there. print off and fill in the entry form that's on there and send off the entry fee. So it's as simple as that. So they do say Super Sport 300, the eligible bikes are the Honda CBR 300R, the Yamaha R3, the KTM RC390, and the Kawasaki Ninja 400. Those are the eligible machines because it's a lot larger bike. The Honda CBR 500R isn't accepted in that class for that race, but all the others are. So that's the Cookstown plug. Oliver Mounts Racing we have done. Yes, earlier this week it was the official. In fact, it was end of last week, not long after the show. The official launch of the Northwest 200.
I think that happened during the show because we were receiving tweets about it, and I got confused, thinking that it was something that had previously happened, and it was happening sort of live.
Yes, it was basically the war of words, as it's now been announced. So it sounds violent. It's been more banter, but there has been an undertone of competitive patches.
Who said what?
Alistair Seeley and Glenn Owen. They are both wanting to become the first rider to win all 6 of the main Northwest 200 races in a race meeting this year. And they're riding. So Alistair Seeley has recently signed for the Paul Burt Motorsport BYZ Ducati squad to fight to reigning champion Glenn Owen, who has moved across to the Quattro Plant Bournemouth Kawasaki team. Both of those two will line up in the Superbike class and in pretty much all the classes actually this year across the grid. So potentially one could win all 6. With the 2 of them there, there's the higher chance it could have finished 3-all for the 2. Alistair Seeley said he will stop at nothing to claim the Northwest 200 crown back from Glenn Owen.
Well, that sounds ominous.
And Glenn Owen effectively said, yeah, good luck, I'm on the most reliable machine known to man this time round, which was more of a dig, I thought, to his old employers at Fuga and Ducati rather than Alistair Seeley. Glenn Owen took it in good nature. It was good banter, we put it down to. There were also a couple of rider announcements from that evening, the most notable being that Richard Cooper, who currently races for Bilbao Suzuki in the British Superstock 1000 class, he will contest the Northwest 200 with the Bilbao Suzuki team as well. Gary Johnson is going to return for another season with Lee Hardy racing for the RF Regular and Reserves Kawasaki team. He'll be riding the new ZX10 RR in the Superbike class this year and the Superstock. Super Sports, he stays with the exact same team, and they will be wheeling out the old Triumph Daytona 675 in the Sport class. If one of the final years, that bike will be used because Triumph have announced over the last couple of weeks that they are building a new 765cc Supersport machine based off their Moto2 engine. So that's going to be fun to see, and you should be able to see that Triumph bike, Moto2 Supersport bike, at this year's upcoming Motorcycle Live in November, which that's got me quite excited. Michael Dunlop, he's been out testing over in Cartagena in Spain this weekend. This week even, testing the new BMW S1000RR for Tyco BMW, and he's described it as, he's not one for overdoing emotion. If anyone's read his book, you know how blunt and to the point he is, but he has said it's quite simply the best bike he has ever ridden before.
Really?
So he says it is. It's got so much power. He's got full confidence where it brakes. It felt like the old bike had been lacking a little in stability, he said at last year's T2. He reckons this year the new bike is so much better than the electronics because they're a bit more advanced. It will just help going around the TT course. He's basically putting down a marker saying, I'm back to win all the big bike races this year. Come get me if you can. So Michael Dunlop, he's been out getting some good mileage under his belt. He's also, did we mention last week in BSB news that he's signed up to do a couple of wildcard rounds in BSB?
I believe we did.
Early season. They're most likely going to be Silverstone and Alton Park before the Northwest 200 kicks off. So look out for him if you're going to those venues around the BSB circuit. Australian rider Dave Johnson is returning to the TT this year. He's going to partner Ian Hutchinson at Honda Racing. The two, that's a very experienced lineup for Honda they've gone for. Hutchie, he believes that Honda have made a step forward with their bike over the winter, and they can push to get back onto the top step of the podium at the TT. And who's really to argue with Ian Hutchinson, who has 16 TT wins to his name? If he says it can, they're going to get back to the top, it could be an incredible year. We've discussed last week, if you were watching, with Peter Hickman on BMW, on the Smith BMW, Michael Dunlop on the Tyco BMW, Dean Harrison on the Silicon Engineering Kawasaki, as well as Ian Hutchinson now, and Dave Johnson potentially as well on the Honda, James Hillier on the Quattro Black Kawasaki. There are so many good riders, so many good bikes at this year's TT. It's just boiling nicely for a classic. One man, however, who is not going to be at the TT this year, which is rather sad, this news was confirmed this morning, was Josh Brooks. He is, he's not going to be at the TT. He's not re-signed for Norton. He put a tweet out this morning saying that it's not in his team's priority, the TT. Now, his team's priority is, of course, PBM, BY's Ducati. This year haven't signed for BSB. It's unknown whether he will go to the Northwest 200 like Glenn Irwin did with the team last year and partner Alistair Seeley over there. But it's a loss for the TT because Josh Brooks, immensely popular, immensely talented rider out there.
So is it just him that won't compete, or will the team? I mean, what's the situation there?
Well, Paul Bird, Ducati have not been at the TT. In fact, no Ducati bike has been at the TT since the early 90s, I think, when after the three Ducatis that were there, I think it was 91. Someone's going to correct me on that. It's after the three failed to make the finish, team boss, the Ducati, packed up, said, no, never again, not doing that. Maybe there's a rumour that Ducati could also put a blanket ban on TT entries. With the V4 engine, I thought, quite a few people as well in the industry thought that the V4 engine, given how well it's turned out so far, especially in World Superbikes, because of the electronics, you're allowed to use the electronics in the road races as well. It was the platform to let Ducati come back to the roads and really conquer the TT. And it's a shame it's clearly not going to happen this year. Hopefully Brooks will twist the boss's arm for next year. That's all the motorcycle road racing news. There's a couple of sidecar items that have come back. First of all, we'll start with the brothers Ben and Tom Birchall, who have dominated the sidecar class for the last couple of years. They have been awarded over the weekend the Fred Craner Trophy for all their outstanding achievements at the TT and on the international stage, i.e. the Sidecar F1 World Championship that goes on. Fred Craner Trophy, it's named after the man who founded Donington Park, of course, with his name immortalised with the Craner curves. It is he, Lester. The trophy is named out of. I read it's the first time since the award has been handed out since the early 90s, I believe. 1990, to former sidecar champion Simon Birchall, no relation to the current incumbents.
Well, that's weird.
So those two have picked up yet another trophy. One man who is trying to knock them off their perch at the TT this year is the TT legend himself, Dave Molyneux. He's returning to the island, and he's got a new passenger with him for this year, Harry Kane, who was a debutant last year at the TT. He's moved across, and they're hoping that the mixture of youth and experience can topple the Birchall brothers and see Molyneux back onto the podium for the first time in about 5 years at the TT course in 2019. So a bit of sidecar news there, and that is all your road racing news, Lester.
Boom! Excellent. Thank you very much, Ed. And the latest on the road racing front, because why not? We all like a bit of road racing. TT, Northwest, and all that.
I loved your facts, Eggs. They were great. Your facts know no bounds.
Apart from when he's being corrected about his facts.
Yeah, I'm now praying, please, no one correct me on anything, please.
Sorry,
I don't claim to know everything. I'm not a know-it-all, but so people correct me. That's fine.
The Fred Craner one was outstanding. I never even knew that.
Yeah.
Neither did I until last week. Oh, I forgot to mention that if there's any follow, the Birchall brothers, they were presented with the trophy not at a awards dinner like you normally have, or just in a tavern hall at a rather wooden occasion. No, they were presented with it on the pitch at half-time at their beloved Mansfield Town on Saturday afternoon.
Okay. Well, why not?
I just thought I'd say that.
Fair enough. And inane fact, I was actually on my way back from Donington on Tuesday and trying to make my way home. And this has absolutely nothing to do with motorsports or racing. And I decided to not take the M1 back up to Glossop, but to drive through Ashbourne. And little did I know that every Shrove Tuesday, the entire town comes out to basically have a live version of like ancient Gaelic football versus WWE. It's really weird.
Original football before they came up with the rules?
No, this is like proper nasty sort of. I'll put a video. I'll put a video on the Motorsport Radio Facebook. No, on the Twitter actually. It's really, really weird, and I never knew this existed. But basically the entire town centre got completely closed off, and I had to drive an extra 40 minutes to get home. And yeah, anyway, back to motorsport. But yeah, so thank you for the road racing update. Liam's shocked and stunned at how boring that story was.
I wasn't.
Andy Daly's been on. Hello, good evening. Andy says Rutter raced a Ducati at the TT in 2011. And well, according to Andy, and McGuinness raced the Ducati in 2003. And you can't argue with Andy Daly. Almost,
but yeah, the Monster Mob Ducati. I remember that. That was a great looking thing.
Oh yeah, it was.
Even Liam's knows about it, you see. So
how can I forget those? Sorry, I'll re-clarify. The last time there was a full factory-supported Ducati team at the TT. There we go, early 90s, I think. But yes, the Monster Mob Ducati. I'm sorry, John McGuinness, for forgetting that.
How could you?
I remember that. Because I have the PlayStation 2 TT game, and I pulled it out a couple of weeks ago and raced with John McGuinness, or raced the Monster Mob Ducati in it, into TT. It's a great game. That's how I remember that.
Sort of. I only go on that game at the Motorcycle Live TT stand, and I never get anywhere past like the second or third corner because I always end up in someone's back garden.
Yeah, they had at Motorcycle Live. They had all the rider aids you need turned off out there. It was basically you couldn't get to the bottom of Brake Hill without crashing. It was just like total need. I think that game made Kiko too scared to get on a motorbike.
We did try and get Kiko on a sidecar. Actually, I have evidence of Kiko on a sidecar. It wasn't moving at the time though, but yeah, that's something that still needs to happen, I suppose. But anyway, less Kiko.
I would love to be a passenger in a sidecar.
We can make that happen actually at Tattershall at Cool Fab Racing. I think. Well, I'm saying this not having any authority over any sidecar whatsoever, but I think we can probably blag a sidecar passenger ride for charity for you, and you'll actually see how physically
demanding it is.
Yeah, because a former colleague, Tom Brooks, went on as a sidecar passenger, regretted it, still regrets it to this day, because he was only a very thin figure, and yeah, apparently it's a very physical thing, obviously. And that was a mini sidecar. That was like riding a trying to hang on to a box of cornflakes going at like 70 miles an hour. They're really small.
I like this. I'll make sure to bring my leathers and my helmet then.
But that's what I think. That's what riding as a passenger on a mini F1 sidecar is like. For more evidence, check out the Cool Fab Racing previous archive on YouTube, TDI Media, and you can see for yourself. Sometimes they look kind of hilarious. Those massive athletes on those tiny little sidecars there. Anyway, moving on. This is the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. Hello and good evening. Yes, it's about 70 minutes into the show, and we are very much live this evening. You can get in touch with us at M-Sport Radio on Twitter. I am monitoring all the time, all the feeds coming in, so I will definitely not be late with your comments if you leave any at all, as Andy Daly did earlier, and as, plenty of people actually. Including to you've had a lot of corrections this evening, Ed. It's usually me that's getting all the corrections this evening. I'm counting at least 2 or 3 for you, but luckily none for you yet, Liam, so that's pretty good.
Fingers crossed we keep that up.
Maybe you can find some as we talk. Now, there's not been that much BSB news, I'd say non-BSB news at all, but there has been a couple of lines regarding the support classes in the BSB support paddock. Tell us more.
Yeah, all I can say is thank goodness MotoGP's on this weekend, or I wouldn't have much to talk about. But come to BSB, Thomas Strudwick, you might remember him last year racing in the British Talent Cup. Yeah, just missed out on the title to Roddy Skinner. He has now landed himself a nice wee gig in the British Supersport class, but not the Super Sports. He's going to be racing the GP2 classes. So obviously the chassis that race over in the GP category have been sort of taken over to the British one, the British categories, and he's going to be racing there. And it's a class that's going to just be on up and up and up, and it's going to provide great racing. There's going to be more teams this year, I believe. And he has done something that unfortunately the champion of British Talent Cup last year hasn't done yet, and been able to find a good ride in the British Superbike paddock. So looking forward to seeing what Thomas Strudwick can do, because he is definitely one to look out for the future. And also JR Motorsport, you might know them as the WD-40. They have announced that Storm Stacey will be racing in their Superstock 600 class, and Finnish rider, I hope I don't butcher this name, Emilia Lahti. I think that's how you say it.
I think
Lahti,
so.
or Lahti. Sort of.
You got to say it in a Finnish accent though, kind of like Kimi Räikkönen. So Emilia Lahti, Lahti.
Emilia Lahti.
Maybe
I can't do it. I kind of look Finnish a little bit with the blonde hair and blue eyes, but I don't sound it at all. But you might remember him from last year. He was racing in the World Supersport category. He'd done a couple of rounds over there, 6 rounds, finished 21st in the championship. So he's now been given a ride over here in Britain. So we're going to be looking for him in the Superstock 1000 category. And I'm looking forward to seeing that, see what he can do over here. And he's only 19 years old, so he's got a lot to give us and a lot to look forward to in the future as well. But as we said, there's not a lot of British Superbike news at the moment. Fingers crossed, maybe you've got some more that you'd like to tweet us in.
Indeed, yes. So, good luck to Emilia
Lahti.
Lahti. It makes sense if you say it in a Finnish accent, I think.
Absolutely.
Hashtag not racist. I was monitoring on social media over the past couple of days some of the purely for journalistic purposes, some of the riders who have been, I don't know, at this time of the year it's all kind of the same stuff, people tweeting bits of video about them in a gym, blah blah blah, and it's the same on Instagram as well, although now I'm informed, I don't know too much about this, there was something about football happening midweek, and there was a couple of riders and a couple of personalities that got rather animated on the old social medias. Now, Ed is a massive Man United fan, and I believe, and also I'm told he also likes the footballs. I didn't even know what the hell was happening until I pieced it together from my feed.
You're referring to Glenn Owen's wonderful reaction to Rashford's penalty last night, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm trying to find it here so I can play it to you.
That is the scene that was going up down every Man United fan's house that night when Rashford stepped up to take the penalty. It was wonderful. Glenn Owen, he captured the mood perfectly with his little video reaction. It's wonderful.
Yeah, Glenn Irwin, I presume he was either at home or at a friend's, but well, maybe not at home because I think he was watching it on a mobile phone. But yeah, his whoever he was sat next to, I'm presuming his partner, managed to capture the fateful moment. Ed, now you can describe what the hell happened here. I'm guessing it was a goal or something.
This was
that moment yeah, anyway, this happened, basically. It was Glenn Irwin in a scene of high celebration. There are swears involved.
Yeah, so this is 90 seconds into stoppage time.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, something happened in football, and Glenn Irwin... Shall we watch that again, by the way? Because it just seems pretty funny. And, yeah, it was... let's watch that again. Come on! Stuff in his face. And... imagine someone... playing FIFA and being quite happy about said fact that they've just scored. Yeah, basically that. So, well done, Glenn Irwin. You win our social media video competition of the week, which is just made up. But yeah, Glenn Irwin.
I could hear the whole Manchester United fans cheering all the way up here in Glasgow when they scored. It was that loud.
Who was they playing? You know what? I don't even know. I'm not even going to pretend.
We were playing Paris Saint-Germain in Paris. We started the match 2-0 down on aggregate, and we ended up drawing on aggregate 3-3, but because of the way goals rules, we went through. So it was, and that celebration was Marcus Rashford scoring a penalty in the 90th minute of the game, which
all right, we don't need a full report.
Proved to be the winning goal.
Just anyway, yeah, I was kind of nodding off there. Sorry, but yeah, no, that would explain the reaction. I understand it was a momentous moment. Yada yada yada. But football,
we've been on cloud 9 ever since.
But yeah, anyway, to cut a long story short, it's been a little thin on the ground in BSB news. So we're literally trolling Twitter videos and playing funny reactions and such like. Talking about social media comments and stuff that flooded in, I saw a comment from Jay King. He's probably not even tuned in, but usual regular viewer, or listener to the show. Jay King tweeting out on his Twitter at PitBikeSonic saying, "How long will this last?" with a picture of Marquez and Lorenzo smiling, looking at each other.
I love that.
And would you like to put a little caption to what we can see on screen at the moment? Maybe I would imagine if I was putting words in their minds, I'd probably think that Marquez was thinking, yeah, you're still not going to win, and maybe Lorenzo's going to be like, haha, yeah, or something. But yeah, I don't know. Have you got what do you think he's saying, Liam?
They look like a married couple the day they get married. They do look genuinely that happy. Well, Lorenzo's beaming from ear to ear. I mean, I've never seen him with a smile on his face that big in all my life. Marquez is going, yeah, what am I letting myself in for?
It's a bit like when two passive-aggressive women pretend that they don't hate each other and do not, and aren't about to just start pulling their hair out. Literally a spark between them, and it could all go tremendously wrong. It's that sort of fake smile, I think, that you get between. As I said, that's the only thing I can liken it to. Is that yeah? So it's like really enjoying the season. I'm super motivated for the season, knowing full well that they hate each other's guts. And it kind of, I don't think that was a genuine smile from either of them, to be honest. I don't know, maybe.
I don't. It looks kind of genuine from Lorenzo's side. Marquez's side, maybe not so much. He's like, oh, what's happening here? But I just love the thought of them being a married couple and them falling out, and they go to marriage counselling with Alberto Puig as the marriage counsellor, trying to sort that out. I just have that in mind. I think it's absolutely brilliant. They come out in Mugello and they've had a crash or something, they've fallen out, and they come back to us in a few weeks' time, and they're all chirpy and happy, and everything's happy-go-lucky again. I said us, I meant Catalonia.
It's always good, I suppose, to it's always good to have some make-up sex. I suppose that clears a lot of things up, doesn't it? Marquez and Lorenzo pictured at the annual. I think they do it at the start of every Grand Prix. I think the family photo of all the riders on the grid, which doesn't include wildcards, does it not?
No, that's why Bradley Smith wasn't there today. It's the start of every single season, but since he's not a permanent rider throughout the year, Bradley Smith was not in the picture. But yeah, definitely there this weekend though.
He is, and I suppose that naturally brings us on to some predictions as to what is going to happen. And I suppose this is the part where we all pretend to have followed testing. Yeah.
I've tried to follow it. I did follow it.
Here's the excuses. Yeah. I didn't, by the way. Just hands up. I just didn't. I tell a lie. I did actually watch testing. I watched the live stream Dawn on Facebook at the end of testing, like the last half hour that they do, with Simon Crafar stood at the side of the track going, yeah, it's going to be really interesting in his South African accent and stuff. So yeah,
New Zealand, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry, Simon. Okay, whatever. With an accent, right? So yes, I did say a couple of test coverages, which is more than I saw of Formula One. Wow, says a lot.
Well, that's always good.
That says a lot, by the way. Says a lot for me. Anyway, so we'll start off at Moto 3 level. I'll have to even pull up my entry list for Moto 3. Yeah, you carry on. Top 3 this weekend. Never mind this season. Top 3 this weekend. Moto 3. Liam, go.
Romano Fenati.
For a win?
Sony Arbel. For a win, yes. I'm going to take Romano. He's been dominating testing so far, especially in Qatar.
Yeah, only because he's... Never mind.
And I'm scared of him. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's because... that's why he's dominated anyway.
I'm going to say Aaron Canet for second place in the new Max Biaggi team, and John McPhee third place. There we go. Figures he may win it, but I'm going to put John McPhee third. Podium. He's good. He's looking good this year.
So you're genuinely saying that Romano Fenati is going to bounce back Alan Partridge style and take a win. He probably might, just because, like you say, everyone's too scared to go anywhere near him, and then they'll back off knowing that if they do go near him, they could die. So
yeah, that's if you want to say it that way, absolutely. But I think it'll be the usual Moto 3 punch up that we see, and
I hope so.
I hope so as well. Or it could just be a complete Romano Fenati runaway, because as you say, that everyone else is scared of him, so they may just let him run off with the race. That'll happen at all.
But there again, you might get the opposite effect in that if he does win anything, he'll be super scrutinised this season. I think he might even be unfairly. The people might hold him to a different kind of standard, because he's been in Moto 2 before. He's done all of the stuff before, and everybody thinks he shouldn't even have a license.
Yeah, to be honest, that's a good point you make, because I remember years ago, I don't want to speak ill of Marco Simoncelli, but riders were actually genuinely scared of riding around Marco Simoncelli because he was causing accidents and taking people out, and he was scrutinised more than any of the other riders in the MotoGP class that season. Later on in the season, he sort of sorted that all out, and then he started taking podiums.
Okay.
So, yeah, Romano Fenati could be scrutinised a little bit more, so just because of his past behaviour. Fingers crossed they won't that won't happen, because he'll be riding safely and yeah, everything like
that. Moto 2 then for you then, Liam. Who are you going to say?
Oh, it's a tough one. I want to say Sam Lowes. And I'm going to say Sam Lowes because he's been once again dominating testing so far. He seems to have, touch wood, sorted out his crashing, sorted out over testing. I know. I hold my hands up. If I have said this, and Sam Lowe's crashes out of the lead of the race, please, you have all the right to give me abuse on Twitter. That is what I'm saying. But fingers crossed, Sam, please do not fall off in first place.
You've already said it.
In the race.
So that's
please
what
don't.
happened.
Please, Sam, please don't fall off.
You gave him a touch of the crush lows.
The crash lows. The crash lows. Yes, Sam Lowe's, I think he might take the win. And then I'm reckoning it's going to be Luca Marini second, and we'll throw Alex Marquez in mix in third place.
It is his make or break season. I think we've said this before on the show for Alex Marquez. Okay. And MotoGP?
I said tough one. I've been toying with it. I've been back and forth because I've been looking more into testing a little bit more so than I did originally. And Andrea Dovizioso does look really good, even though he's playing it down a lot, saying that he's not really feeling the front end too much and that he feels that there's more to come. But he says he's going to come out fighting in Qatar. And it's a toss-up between him and Petrucci because Petrucci looks really good as well. But
really?
Yeah, his long run pace was really strong in testing. He'd done 22 laps at the end of testing on day 3, and his first lap to his last lap were only 0.8 apart, so it's really quite close. I'm thinking, just because he's a bit of a specialist around Qatar, I'm going to say Dovizioso, Petrucci, and Maverick Vinales.
Interesting.
Interesting, that goal.
Yeah, Ed, I'm going to put the same question to you as well, and I will also fumble through some predictions. Not that it's worth anything. But name 3 names who you think are going to be on the podium in the correct order. In Moto 3.
Moto 3, yeah, it's... Fenati will be up there, I have a feeling. He will be, because simply he's so talented, although given that down the big straight, because although he's not tall personally, he is quite a broad, chunky, well-built rider. It could actually slow him down a bit down the main straight. So I think we'll put Fenati third. He's going to get on the podium. He's going to be third. Second, yeah, Aaron Canet for me. He's been quietly going about his business over the winter test, and he's got a lot of talent. He just every now and then, just in the early season, just puts one mistake out when he was leading the race, fighting for the win, and again, it might cost him. Although that said, you could choose between any of about 20 riders in Moto3 who could win, because it will all be Slipstream City. I know that's a cop out. I'm just trying to buy myself time while I'm thinking of who I think is going to win. I would love to see John McPhee win. But
it's possible.
It's possible. He just, since he won his first and only Grand Prix back in 2016, he hasn't been able to put a really consistent weekend together.
Well, how do you put anything consistently in Moto 3 though?
Well, Jorge Martin managed it. Bezzecchi managed it. Anyone who wants to win a championship, they put regular, consistent weekends together. I'm sorry, John, and I'm sorry, John McPhee fans. I think he's just going to miss out on the podium. Lorenzo Dalla Porta is the one I'm thinking who could win this. He just seems to have a bit of a maturer head on his shoulders than any of the other race winners around him. It's good team, the Leopard team this year. They know how to win around that circuit. I'll go with Dalla Porta for the win in Moto 3.
He's the one I actually tipped for the World Championship in Moto 3 this year, so I think he's going to be great.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm not brave enough to predict the championship winner for Moto 3.
That's for a later show, I think.
Ask me that when they've gone for the summer break after the Saxon Ring. It's
a bit of fun. Let's do predictions for the championship.
Let's get through these first, I think. So where was you up to? Moto 2 then?
Moto 2. Yeah, I'm going for Sam Lowe's to win this weekend. He's just looked, I'm going to use his own phrase, he has just looked so on it throughout winter testing. He really has. He's rejuvenated. He's gone back to the Federal or Grassini team. It's a team that knows him, loves him. They've dialed in that bike quicker than everyone else. They just look to be a step ahead. So I think that's ultimately going to give him the edge in Qatar this weekend. Remy Gardner, I've been impressed with him over the winter. He's consistently quick. So he's going to be second. Now who do you pluck out for the third place? Tom Luthi. Baldassarri's good out there.
Just name a name.
Yeah, there's three. There's Baldassarri, Marini, and Luthi. I think they're going to be fighting for that.
Which one?
Because he has on occasion got the knives out on that last lap in a scrap, and he does use his big frame to good effect. I'm going to say Baldassarri will get that third spot on the podium. Just that final lap scrap will be enough to get him on there.
Right.
So, obviously, now MotoGP, I can't see anything other than the Ducati 1-2 this weekend. It's just a question of which order, Dovi or Petrucci. I think Petrucci's going to ace qualifying. He's going to get the pole position. He's got good one-lap pace in him, but over the course of 22 laps, is it Qatar this year? I think it's 22 laps down there. I say, Dovi, he just looks after his tyres so much better than anyone else. He knows where to find the grip out there on a dusty track or a wet track. Nothing phases him in race conditions. You'd almost say he's robot-like in that nothing affects him. He just gets on with the job. He knows what needs doing, and he executes his game plan almost to perfection. I'm going to say Dovi to win. Petrucci will be second. The battle for third is again going to be interesting. Could it be Vinales? I'm honest, I don't know if it's Vinales, because he's done a lot in winter testing of going for the headlap times at the end of a day, which kind of suggests he's trying to mask a bit of a deficiency in Yamaha's performance. That said, Valentino Rossi has been incredibly consistent. So out of the two factory riders, I'd probably put my money with Rossi, although I don't actually think either of them are going to get on the podium. I think it's going to be Alex Rins at Suzuki. They have had as good a winter as Ducati. Near enough. They're not quite there in a straight line still as the missile that is the Desmond Sedici down there, but the cornering, the handling, the braking, it's all, the rest of the package is there for Suzuki. And Rins, he's second half of last season, got on the podium 5 times last year, 4 in the last 6 races, I think, in the season. He's just getting better and better and better. He's confident. He's got a new, fast teammate that's going to push him, Juan Mir, out there. The team love Rins. They're going to be doing everything to get the bike perfect for him. I think it's going to be a very good year for Rins and Suzuki. But that long main straight, over a kilometre long, they're not going to quite be there to challenge the Ducati over a 22-lap race distance. But Rins for the third spot on the podium for me.
Okay, interesting. And, I said I'd also give my predictions, and I admittedly haven't, I don't even, Moto3 testing, you could be naming anybody, to be perfectly honest. So, just having a quick browse through the old entry list. Moto3, who did you say, Liam?
Oh, that's a good question. Did I say? I said...
I'm going to steal your...
Romano Fenati, Aaron Canet second, and John McPhee third.
Right.
There we go. So no stealing.
Okay. To win Moto3 this weekend, and knowing that in previous shows that we've done, I have a freakish ability to predict correctly the outcomes of various races. But having said that, I've just jinxed that ability, which means that this won't happen. You see, I'm getting my excuses in early. So, okay. So to win Moto3 race this weekend will be Antonelli.
Okay.
That's
an interesting shout.
Yeah.
As long as he stays on it and doesn't hurt himself.
Yeah, I thought he lost his way a bit last season, but he does have talent, that kid. So
He's very fast on his day. If he could just stay on the bike, he would be. He needs to polish himself up to mold himself into a rounded rider, and he'll be brilliant.
Second place in Moto3 this weekend will be Aaron Canet. And he can.
We've all picked him for a second.
Have we? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's because we all think he can.
Yeah, we've all gone for Canet for second, so...
so he's going to DNF then. And I think third place, as much as I'd like to say John McPhee, soz John, it won't actually be you on the podium, but I think he'll be probably like there or thereabouts, third, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth, something like that. Okay, third place, I'm going to say Darren Binder.
That's a good shout.
Good shout. He's on a good bike.
Yeah, he's on his day. He's incredible. He's brilliant and very fast. But unfortunately, it just doesn't happen often.
Sorry, Darren.
But hey, I met him last year, and he's the coolest guy you'd ever meet as well.
Has he still got his incredibly long curly hair?
He does, and he's like he's like a surfer.
I'm going to say that his hair alone is going to rule him out of the win this weekend, because again, just down that main straight, that's just a parachute he's effectively towing.
Yeah, so he'll be 10 miles an hour slower than everyone else.
Sorry, Darren, if you're ever going to watch this.
Moto2, the winner of Moto2 this weekend in Qatar will be Marco Bezzecchi, and Jorge Martin will be second, and the winner, literally just plucking names out of the air almost, because I've not seen any testing. I don't know who's but I'm going to say Thomas Luthi for the winner of Moto2. And MotoGP, I'm not going to say any one of the Ducatis for a win. I will say the winner will be who won it last year? Was it Crutchlow?
It was Davizio as well last year.
Which race did Crutchlow win?
He won in Argentina.
Okay.
So it was Davizio, Marquez, Rossi, top three, Qatar 2018.
Okay. The winner of this weekend's MotoGP race will be Jorge Lorenzo.
Wow, that would be incredible.
That is a call. That is a call and a half.
I mean, and if he was fully fit, I wouldn't bet against it, but unfortunately he's not. But you never know. It's Jorge Lorenzo.
Exactly. Second place will be... I'm literally... This is like a lottery, to be honest, because, second place... Sod it. I'll say Zarco. And third... Why are you laughing? Shut up.
Let's just say Red Bull KTM have just got a lot of work to do this year before they can think about podiums.
That's why you're not expecting it, see, because that's where it's crafty.
Nowhere.
And who said? Did someone say Tito Rabat earlier?
No one said Tito Rabat.
Okay, no, I'll say Alex Rins then. For third place.
To be fair to Tito, he's actually been really quick in testing, and he's still not fully fit after his injury at Silverstone last year. So
he was fully fit.
Quartararo. There we go. He's 19 years old.
It's the rookies and the two Suzukis, isn't it? That are the only fully fit riders, I think, that are on the grid to start the season. So
they're our predictions. Some rather bold predictions. Do you have any of your own predictions if you tuned in listening live? Or if not, and it's still before the race, then you can still submit them in the comments box wherever you're tuned in to us. If you've downloaded the show as a downloadable audio podcast. podcast on Spotify, then you can, I suppose, I don't know, leave your comment. Can you leave it? Whatever, anyway. We want to know, basically. We should do this more as like a predictions league. We should start this up, a predictions league. And we might have some big news on that coming in the next week or so.
Yes.
So there you go. So for now, our informal, until I win it, informal predictions about who will win in Moto 3, 2 and GP. Do you have any opposing opinions? Do you think that, if you agree with me, perhaps, and you don't have to, please don't, that Lorenzo will actually do something pretty weird and win it? Then let us know. Hello to Anthony Davis, tuned in. Hello, good evening. And yes, Anthony, we have mentioned... no, actually, we didn't mention Tom Booth Amos. We didn't actually mention that, did we?
He's going to be
Moto 3.
He's going to be racing Moto 3. Yeah, we mentioned that a few weeks ago that he's racing in Moto 3.
I mean, we're not mentioning it on tonight's show, though.
No, not today's show, no.
Okay, that was confusing me. Because, I remember we did talk about it briefly, but... Tom Booth Amos. Nobody predicted him to do a podium yet, but understandable. First race and all. So, he's one to watch, I would say. All of the Brits are really one to watch, and I don't think there'll be any slouches, and that includes Jake Dixon as well. I think he will do better than some people think in Moto 2. I do. Do you disagree?
No, absolutely. He will do very well in Moto 2 this year, and he's come across at the best time as well, because it's kind of a level playing field now in Moto 2, as everyone's going to have to get used to the new Triumph engine.
Yeah.
I suppose in a way, if you're being a bit cruel, you could say with Sam Lowe's already performing over the winter the way he has done, it's Jake Dixon, that's the first port of call he'll be compared to the established Brits in ranks, Sam Lowe's. But Dixon, look at the people he's raced with again in BSB, Leon Haslam, Shane Byrne, Josh Brooks, really established names in the BSB scene. So he's not afraid of going up against people with much bigger reputations than his own. So, the biggest challenge for him really will just be learning the world circuits. But I wouldn't put him down for a podium this week. But when we come back to Europe, it's slightly more similar circuits. If he's had a good start of the season, don't see why he can't get onto the podium and have a win or two this year.
Sorry to butt in, but I just want to ask you a question. I'll start off with you, Ed. Would Jake Dixon have won BSB this year if he'd have stayed?
I think he certainly would have gone in as the pre-season favourite. There's no doubt about that. It's a good question, because he would have been very settled staying with Lee Hardy Racing. Great on that package, absolutely superb. He was the only one that could really trouble Leon Haslam by the end of the season. And with Haslam at World Superbikes, difficult to look. It would be easy to sit back and say Brooks and Redding could probably walk the series on the Ducati, but you've got to remember, the Ducati in World Superbikes has got all the electronic aids on it, which is what the bike was designed for. Around there, BSB have to take all the electric riding aids off completely. So, the Ducati before could be a complete handful when we turn up at round one. Who knows what it would be? It would certainly, would have been the easier option for Jake Dixon, but that's, if anything, that makes you like Dixon even more, that he chose the harder option to go to Moto2 to challenge himself on the big world stage. So, or
maybe he just decided to. He had, I don't know how exactly the chronology of how it all unfolded, but maybe he had the opportunity to go to Moto2 before we knew of where anybody else would be going, and we didn't know back then that Shane
quite possibly so. Yes, Shane Bird's injury kind of threw everything up in the air last year, because suddenly riders were fighting each other hand over fist for better rides last year. Look, there's no doubt he would have been pre-season favourite for BSB this year, and upon reflection...
But would he have won it, though?
Well, Glenn Owen, you'd have to say would be the closest rival going to the Kawasaki team, which I think, without electronic aids, the Kawasaki is the best bike out there. Would he have been champion? To be honest, there's a very good case for saying yes, he would have been. Oh. I mean, there are so many good riders in BSB. That is the problem. You can't be fully sure. Though, given the way how he finished in the showdown last season, there's absolutely no reason why he couldn't have won BSB this year had he stayed. But to me, full marks from going over to Moto 2, whether that was already the plan for him or whether he decided it later towards the back end of the BSB season, I don't know that, but I think full credit to him for actually jumping across to Moto 2, really putting himself in the lion's den in one of the toughest championships. Arguably, Moto 2 has become the toughest championship to win in the world. So I think he's got all the tools at his disposal. He's had a great team. He's incredibly strong mentally. Okay. He's physically one of the fittest riders around, certainly the fittest, bar none, in BSB paddock last year. So absolutely, he's got the best chance of anyone to succeed in Moto 2 this year. Okay. Definitely.
Liam, would Jake Dixon have won BSB if he had stayed?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on.
No, it's not great. No, it's not quite as simple as that. I love Jake Dixon. I think he's incredible. He's one of those riders that you see and you just know that he has just put in all that effort at a younger age, along with his family and friends, and he's just worked and worked and worked and worked at everything. And
he's probably one of the biggest improvers of performance over the past couple of seasons, isn't he?
Yeah,
I would say.
Because maybe even 2 years ago, going into the 2017 season, Jake Dixon, no one's really heard of him. Who's that? And now we're talking about...
And he got that shock. Was it a
double victory at Knock Hill? I was there that day. Unfortunately, me and my brothers and my dad were actually putting bets on who'd win, and I lost both times. My brothers picked Jake Dixon. There was just random pick. One of my brothers that don't know anything about bike racing picked him at random, and he won £2 out of it. So, that's a bit of a backstory about that. But I think that he is a world-class rider, and I think going into 2019, he would have just gone that extra step further than he was in 2018, because every year he's just gone one step further. And now I didn't even think last year he'd be a championship contender in the way he was. I thought he'd be top six definitely, but not pushing Leon Haslam for the BSB title. So with 2019 and the Ducatis, Scott Redding, Josh Brooks, I think I said earlier that I think Josh Brooks will be champion this year. I still stand by that. If Jake Dixon was in the class on the Kawasaki, which is probably the nicest bike to handle, great top speeds, every rider loves it, I think he would have edged Josh Brooks. I think he would have had it. I think he would have edged everyone in the class. And I would probably say that he might have done a Leon Haslam and just win as many races as Leon Haslam did in 2018 and just kind of romped away with the championship.
But we'll never know. Which is a bit of a shame. But BSB's lost his Moto GPs and Moto 2s gain, and you can see him in action. Remind us again, who's got the TV times? What times are
we have I've got it here.
Exactly.
So Moto 3 will be starting at 2 o'clock UK time. Moto 3, Moto 2 will be starting at 2 o'clock, Moto 2 at 3:20, and MotoGP at 5 o'clock. But once again, that could all change.
Subject to it all changing.
Yes.
So basically, just keep an eye out if you want to tune in and watch that. Live streaming, as always, is right. Live streaming to your television set, the old-fashioned way. Alternatively, the online live streaming is available at BT Sport on the. I think they've got BT Sport app. Clearly, I don't.
Yes, they do. It's a great app, actually.
Yes.
You should use it. Yes.
Other apps are available, like the MotoGP app as well, and they I think I don't even know how much it all costs. I think that's going to be our expose for next
the video pass for MotoGP.
Yeah, how much is that now?
It was, when I got the renewal email, 160 quid for the season.
What do you get with that?
That was a genuine cough.
Yeah, 160 quid for the season.
British pounds?
Yeah. 160, yep, your British pounds sterling for the whole season. There are several options in how you can pay. You can pay it in one go or in 4 little instalments. I believe I couldn't afford it, so...
Neither could I.
Leeching off other people's BT Sport accounts for me.
That's what I've done. I've just leased off my parents. It's the best way to go.
So, I think we should definitely have a proper look. Do some consumer advice in next week's show about how much it all costs. That's for one championship, £160.
Well, you get Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP, and Moto E when it starts. And it is a stark contrast to World Superbike's World Feed, which only cost me 45 quid for this year, I think. So, for the whole year.
I mean, if you could put a value on a championship, I mean...
But don't with the MotoGP video pass, you don't just get the races that you see at the weekends. You also get lots of classic races as well. I've never used it.
You get a full archive all the way back to is it 92 when Dorna first took over? You basically get all the Dorna years, MotoGP or Grand Prix 500s as it was then. You also get interviews with the riders post race. They also do their own after the flag show out there. So there is a lot that you can get for your money.
Although they have started streaming classic races on, I think at least once a week in the off season anyway on Facebook.
Oh, have they? I missed that.
Yes, they do occasionally when it's they haven't done one this week because there haven't really been any classic Qatar Grand Prix, but certainly when we get round to the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez back at the start of May, there will be probably one if they do what they did last year, their classic Grand Prix from yesteryear. I'm waiting for them to dig out the 1998 500cc Grand Prix where Mick Doohan and Alex Crivier just basically beat 7 bells out of each other on the Repsol Hondas together. Teammates Repsol Hondas could potentially be colliding into each other in Spain. Could happen this year.
Well, you're making a decent case for this app anyway. The TV Pass, whatever it's called. Yeah,
I've got the Formula One app, and the only reason I've got that is so I can actually watch past races. So to be honest, that's why I'd get that as well, because I love watching old races. I love for that stuff. So if you love that, then it's probably quite a good investment potential.
We'll definitely get into this next week. I'll come up with a chart and prices and how much everything costs and where you can see everything and yada yada and what you can afford on your pittance on how much you get basically. Or if you can afford everything, go ahead and get everything.
You're gonna have to sell your dog or something.
Exactly.
Or your house.
So I think that's it, really, for the show. A quick hello to Mark Abel, who's tuned in live. Hello, good evening, Mark. And also to David Watson and Simon Hall and Brent Gladwin as well, and Cy Boyle, who at one point listened before, no doubt, tuning out very quickly. This has been the Superbike Show. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you've stayed with us, then thank you. And thank you very much, Ed, as well, for joining us on the show. And as well, Liam.
Pleasure as always.
As well. And stay tuned on the website, motorsport.radio, where Ed will have in the next day or so, better hurry up, a MotoGP preview.
Yes, the preview is landing tomorrow.
Yay.
So,
good.
And there will be full race report and reaction as well over the weekend. So keep an eye on the site.
Fantastic. And that really is it for another edition of the Superbike Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. And just to reiterate some good news that we have had today regarding little Riley Dexter, for people who have been following the progress of Riley after his disgusting crash that he had at the Rally Wales at a demonstration event there towards the end of the season. Well, he's, I think it's fair to say, on the mend, slowly but surely. It's a long road to recovery, and there has been a very positive, encouraging improvement I promised Jay that I wouldn't give out too many details about it because we would like to respect the family's privacy. But good news on Riley Dexter. But his long road to recovery continues, and that's, I suppose, a good way to end the show, having had what was some terrible news at the start of it when we did learn that Keith Flint, Prodigy frontman, singer, performer, passed away, announced on Monday, and we thought we'd leave you with this, ending our show, a nice tribute to Keith Flint.